Okay, welcome. I'm here with Jamie Parker, and we're going to have a wonderful conversation. I'm really looking forward to this, Jamie. I value your friendship so much. Known you for almost 4 months, and you have you have quickly become part of my inner circle. And I think that's meant to be, and that's in divine order. I'm very much appreciating that. So before we get into today's conversation, I just want to make a few mental notes for anyone who might be watching this. We're going to be having a little bit of a deep dive discussion on the possibilities for marketing. This is in response to the presentation, Three Barriers of Deep Democracy, where in that presentation, I went into a lot of the numbers and a lot of the measurements of how the Karmic Margin Call Project works, how our version of a time bank works. And that being said, I want to let anybody know who's watching this. If you're going to invest, it's going to be about an hour, hour and a half discussion. If you are investing that time and you're looking to earn hours for earning compound interest, you can do that by watching this. This is kind of like a training. You can claim that as an hour that you provide. If you have hours to give and you're going to be dedicating an hour and a half to listening to this conversation, you can give that hour and a half to Jamie Parker in our time bank. And if you would like to become a member of the Karmic Margin Call Project, you can just go to karmicmargincall.com, click here for an application, just scroll down. There's a space that says click here for an application. And we will review the application and consider you a member owner of our bank. And that's important to really emphasize that everybody who is a member is also an owner. And you earn ownership, you earn, well, I guess for lack of a better word, market share in our bank based on the amount of time that you serve others, that you are providing to others, and also receiving as well. So the only thing I want to kind of bring attention to and bring into this space right now is the importance of these kinds of conversations in small groups, one-on-one, like Jamie and I will be role modeling today. So according to the business model that we're exploring, for everyone to kind of reach that $1 million mark, you really just have to cultivate and deepen the relationships with two people. I'm kind of feeling in a space where there's an overabundance at the moment. I want to call attention to that there's about 10 people coming into my inner circle, and I'm grateful for every single one of them. And I want to deepen relationships, with every single one of them. So I just want to acknowledge that there is an overabundance in these founding stages, in these foundational stages of fellowship within this first year. So I'm very present to that. And now I'm ready to kind of, put that aside and be completely present to you, Jamie. And the first thing I want to do is just ask about your journey and how New Growth Marketing LLC came to be. And I'll let you take it away.
That's really great, Mike. Thank you so much. And I'll just say also that I feel very similarly that you have become an instantaneous just connection and friend and confidant that I know I can count on and trust in just a very short time. And it's been really wonderful. Like, it reminds me of the way children come together and just become friends instantly because they just recognize, they see the light in each other, and they just connect. So I really appreciate what you're saying on a deep level, and I'm very much looking forward to having this conversation. So thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Yes. So New Growth Marketing LLC is a company that I recently formed. Like many people during the COVID crisis, I had, many changes happen in my life. And so I won't go into that in too much detail, but I'll just say that I had a lot of changes. And one of them was in a job that I was in for the last 8 years. And in a high-level marketing position, executive team, and my company was bought out by a private equities firm. And so I started looking for a job in this market, and nothing quite fit. And I made the promise to myself that I was not going to try and fit a square peg into a round hole anywhere in my life, whether it be relationships, whether it be, business, whatever it is. And I thought, I'm going to make my life work for me the way that I want my life to work for me. And I really stood for that. Being a single mom of 2 kids and being the example in the world for them, I thought, why can't I, form my own entity and really stand for what it is that I want? And so far it's been wonderful, because now I'm attracting all sorts of wonderful groups and people into my life who want my services, and I really have a lot to offer. One of the things that I have to offer is, I've been through some pretty intense trainings. If anyone's aware of Landmark Education or the Legacy Center down in North Carolina, Raleigh, North Carolina, those are 2 programs that I went fully through. And then I formed my own course called The Course, and with a group of people. And so now I have extensive training in life coaching and helping people live their best lives. So one of the things that I'm able to do, and if you know the concept of what you don't know, is I'm able to really look and see what people don't know they don't know about themselves, and about where they're stuck, and about, kind of things they don't see. And I also really help people, and Mike can probably speak to this, find their why. Find why they are, doing what they're doing. If you've ever heard of Simon Sinek, I'm a huge fan of his. The why is such a great, important concept, because if we're just doing and not really in touch with our beingness and why we're here and what we're meant to be for each other, then I think we're really missing the point of life, and we're missing the point of really making a difference. So that being said, that's why I'm here today, to help with the Karmic Margin Call Project. I'm super excited to give my insights. I think they're really going to be supportive of the whole process moving forward. And I'm happy to be, as Mike says, a shareholder in the process. So yeah, that's pretty much it. That's me and where I am.
Great, thank you so much, Jamie. So much came up for me, and I'm sure that's going to play itself out in this conversation here. But yeah, you had watched the 3 barriers to deep democracy.
Yes.
My intention in creating that was to deepen the connection to people like you. And so in that sense, I feel there's been already a high degree of success. So I'm very much looking forward to this conversation and exploring, what the possibility is, and inviting others who might resonate with this conversation. So my intention in creating that was to help bring awareness to the fact that we all have value, that we all have tremendous value, and that poverty and war and all of these conditions where we process intense emotions, they're very valuable. And for some of us, I think we're ready to kind of create a new system, create a new world beyond, what we've been conditioned to believe, beyond trying to be better than each other, and start to co-create together. So that was my intention in putting that out. And I've been really following this idea that, when we were taught by a lot of self-help gurus or a lot of personal development programs, the mantra that kept coming up was go big or go home. And I'm starting to find that for my life anyway, was a myth. For me, what is real for me is go deep and go far. So that is, my intention today is to deepen that conversation and, invite, the people who resonate with this conversation. So that's my intention. And let's delve in. I'd love to hear.
Shall we dive in?
Let's dive in. Let's do it.
Okay, good. And I love that. I love the go deeper, go far. That is a wonderful phrase. And I encourage you to look to see where that could be useful in marketing. Mm-hmm. So, just the fact that you just said that is, it's no longer go big or go home. It's go deep and go far.
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to point out, because I'm great at this kind of thing in terms of language, is that one of them is an or statement and the other one is an and statement.
Yeah.
So I want to be really clear on this. A lot of people feel like, well, I can have this or this. I can have a great career or I could be a great single mom. But I can't have both, right? It's like, no. This is an and world. I can have both. So I want to be super clear on that the and statements are so much more of this world and what nature really does want for us. Look at nature. Nature is an and situation. It's like, well, we can have humans ruining us and we can still be okay, right?
Yeah.
So we can still be resilient. So I just want to point that out just while we're talking here, because I tend to pick up on those little nuances, and that's I think something I'm happy to offer to this group, because I do think it's going to make a huge difference, Mike, or I wouldn't be here.
Sure. I just want to interject one thought with that too.
Yeah, sure.
As I reflect on, that there is, what we call in transition town, anyway, the extractive economy, and what we're trying to establish is a regenerative economy. I want to stress as well that, one does not have to replace the other. Both can exist, and
that's right.
And that's what I think. That's what I think. I'm looking to find a harmony with. Is how do we find the harmony between the two, so that we emotionally evolve to our highest potential in observance to both. So so I do want to say that one does not replace the other. It's not or there might be a symbiotic relationship emerging there. So I wanted to interject that.
Well, I think, and we're just going off, and it's fine. It's totally, it's meant to be this way, apparently. I would also build on that and say, well, it kind of has to be an and right now, because, we live in a world right now where money rules. That's how it is, right? And acknowledging that is super, super important. I'm a huge fan of Susie Orman. I follow her as well. And money is it's there, and we have to be able to be in that system, as you're saying. But also we can be in the new system, and who knows what it will evolve into as our children and our children's children and our children's children's children, continue to grow and expand on what we've created. So it really does. I love these points that are coming to light. So, and I love that we're recording this.
I do too. I'm going to riff off of that real quick too. Is that as we've discussed in private conversations, I don't know how much. I don't think I've really discussed this at length in recorded conversations or conversations that are meant to be public. Is that I do come from the financial world. I did work at a Morgan Stanley office that eventually became a Raymond James office, and in some ways, I became fascinated with the energetic mechanisms of how the market is run, and in a lot of ways how the market is manipulated. And it was that kind of curiosity that led me to kind of play with the relationship between time and finances. That we can do this in a different way, where nobody has to where it doesn't have to promote suffering, or doesn't have to promote competition. So. As you mentioned, Susie Orman, and that the existence of money does exist. I do want to say that part of my passion for this is inspired by the fact that I was in that world. I did deep research on how to trade, how to plan financial trading and all of that, and it was that curiosity that helped me personally to go deep and realize that there's different ways you can kind of fiddle with the mechanics, so that you can change the macrocosm. So so that's my riff on that.
I love that you brought that up. I'm so grateful that you did, because I think it's really important for people to understand the level of expertise that we have in our areas. And I think that's also really important to highlight in the sense of a time bank, is that when you have people who operate at a high level of understanding of a certain topic, it's like, I'm bringing up a lot of authors and people I love, but Malcolm Gladwell talks about in his, in his book, The Outliers, he talks about the 10,000 hours and what do you have 10,000 hours in that makes you expert. And Mike, you have the financial background to have this conversation. I have the background of the life coaching experience and marketing to have this conversation. So it's really, we're having this high level conversation and we're able to bring it to a group that can understand it. We're able to educate them. So it's really a beautiful, wonderful thing we can all share. And then this becomes, like you said, a regenerative economy where we're building up more expertise of more people, attracting people who have this level of expertise that can share this knowledge with the world. So it's beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you shared. You have a solid financial background.
Thank you.
That is really important to what you're up to create these new systems for people. So I think it's really important to stress that. So I'm glad you did. Okay, so I can go into the little bit of the nitty gritty in the presentation that you gave on the deep democracy, because I'd really like to start to give you some feedback on that.
Great.
Yeah, and I did mention some things to you when we were in a call previously. So are you okay if I mention those specifics around what I feel, what I see in terms of improvement and growth in that presentation? Okay, good. Do you want to bring it up so we can talk about it very specifically? Do you want to?
Sure. Yeah. What came up for me, and it's honestly, this conversation is developing a very natural flow, because I'm starting to pinpoint why sometimes I'm hesitant in talking about my background in the financial system. Because what you had mentioned was the comment that I had made in that presentation was about the billionaires, how the earth, I think what I specifically said was the world can sustain billions of people, but it cannot sustain the egos of billionaires. What comes up for me as we start this portion of the conversation is that as I continue to do the deep dives in financial management as well, you come across the work of people like a Jeffrey Epstein, or like a Ronald Bernard, who got out of that system because he was a part of the market manipulation, part of the counterfeiting of money, and he got out because of the connection between high finances and human trafficking. So I was certainly never a part of that world. I was on the very exterior, right, where I was just looking at the technology and the mechanics of it. But yeah, so there's that natural assumption, of what I don't know, of that, when you get into the level of high finances and billionaires, that you're getting into a gray area where morality starts to dissipate. So that was the motivation for my bringing up that comment, which may or may not be real for a lot of people. So that was the first thing that comes to my mind when I think back to our brief conversation of what you wanted to address in the feedback of the three barriers. So yeah, I would love now. I want to hear about your perspective about the earth, being able to take care of itself.
Yeah, that's what I brought up. So I'm looking at the note I wrote on that, and it says Earth cannot support the egos of billionaires, and I wrote, I disagree.
Great.
It can, and it did, and it will be fine. That's what I wrote. Great. And so that's what we just kind of touched on that a little bit with the earth. It's like the earth will be fine. We could disappear and the earth will regenerate and be fine. And my point was, and to get a little esoteric on the group here, even if an asteroid were to hit the earth and the earth were to shatter into millions of tiny little pieces and grow into something else later, it would be meant to do that. It would do that. The earth still spins, the asteroids still, go through space, and there's so much we don't know about what the bigger plan is. that we really just, surrendering to what's so is really difficult for some people. Surrendering to, I don't have a great relationship, surrendering to, I'm not the best mom sometimes, surrendering to, just things that we don't want to surrender to. But once we're with them, really with them, then we can really see, like, we have a few egos that are kind of not so great for this earth here, but that's okay. We acknowledge that that's the case. And we're able to move through it. And I think they're gonna, egos are gonna do their thing. So we just need to allow for that. The more we resist it, the more it persists. We used to say that a lot in the course, that what you resist persists. And that's the truth. I just coached somebody recently on their finances because I've always come from abundance. So I haven't really had this issue of, I always will have enough. I've been in and out of debt my whole life. It hasn't really affected me. I've had lots of money and I've had debt. Either way, my circumstances don't dictate how I live my life in terms of my abundance. Like I'm always going to be an abundant person. But so somebody came to me recently and they said, I'm really struggling with my finances. And I said, well, what's your financial situation? And they said, well, I've got this, $8,000 debt. And I said, well, okay, let's be with that. Okay, you have this $8,000 debt. Do you have ideas for how to pay it off? And they said, I could, dip into my IRA, but that would be taking from my future just to pay it off. But it is in this place where it's on a credit card where I don't have any interest charges until November. It's now April, or it was April when we had this conversation. And so I looked at this person and I said, okay, first of all, let's take all your finances. Let's look at all your finances. Are you really in debt? Or are you really in debt? And they said, no, actually, I have plenty of money in the bank. I could pay this off if I want to. I could pay this off if I want to. It would be a bit of a, like they said, I have plenty of money in my IRA. I could do it. I would take a hit, but I could do it. And I said, well, are you so first of all, you're not really in debt. Your balance is not negative. Secondly, even if you were, are you okay with that? Like, are you okay being in debt? Can you be with the fact that you have a negative mark right now on your finances? Are you okay with that? And they were like, no, I'm not okay with that. Are you kidding me? I am not okay with that. That is why I am coming to you. And I said, ooh, there's a lot of emotion there. I said, yeah, you're really in resistance to this. Do you see that you're really in resistance to this? And they went, you're right. I'm really in resistance to this. I said, yeah, just say, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with this, and I will handle this. And we went through like her whole budget, and the budget, we looked at it, and she had been scrimping and saving, trying to cut down on things. And I'm like, no. This is what you're going to owe at the end of the month. And she goes, oh, that's a lot. I said, yeah, but it also means that's how much you're going to make. Yeah. So let's look at how you're going to make that. Let's not look at how we're going to cut and scrimp and save and be from a scarcity conversation. Let's come from an abundant conversation. Absolutely. So that was really, really interesting. Just to illustrate the point of what you resist persists. So we really need to, and I'll go into another point on the presentation so that we can do that. So I thought we were going to pull this up and do this linearly, like, one step by step. Totally wrong. And that's totally fine. That's great. I'm really we're happy with that. But I'm going to cross off what I already said so I don't say it again. Very good. Because we're recording it now, so it's perfect. So this brings up another thing that you said that I absolutely loved that you said, which is, okay, and I there are parts of this I do disagree with, but I'm gonna say exactly what you said. Okay. They've won. Mm-hmm. Give them that. Accept it. Right. Yeah. And then you said, let's play a new game now. Right. Yes. Mm-hmm. And I loved that, because that, like the fact that so first of all, winning means so many different things to so many different people. So I'm going to just dissect this for a second. So So when we taught the course, we had a game that we did, and I'm not going to tell you what the game is in case you ever do the course.
Okay.
But it talks about winning, and what does winning mean? And winning means so many different things to different people. I don't think that the billionaires or the system as it exists is a sense of winning. I believe that it is what it is at the moment, and it doesn't always have to be this way, right? So it is what it is now, and they did establish a system. They out there that set up the economy as it is, that is the system. And people who deny that or resist it are constantly going to be in a state of scarcity, looking for money.
Yes.
Okay. So we need to accept it. We need to say, let's accept that this is the system, right? It's kind of like accepting that we have Republicans and Democrats, right? And that's the system, because the people who are constantly, pushing the Green Party and the Libertarian Party and all of that, really, they're not accepting that this is the way it is, right? And they're losing their voice in the process. And so, not to get all political, but I guess we are having a conversation about deep democracy, I guess. So I guess that's what it comes down
to. Yeah. why aren't people listening, and why aren't people acknowledging? So yeah, we
need to acknowledge that we have a bipartisan system. This is how it is, people. This is how it is, folks. So now what? Now that that's the case, it doesn't mean you can't still be a libertarian or still be a Green Party or whatever it is that you want to be, independent, whatever you want to be. It just means that you need to accept how it is, and you can work to change things. And this is how we're doing. This is how we do, right, Mike? This is what we're up to. Is there is a system. We acknowledge that there's a system, and we still work in that system. We have to. That's like how we put food on the tables. That's how we feed our children. And once in a while, like I went to someone's house yesterday, locally, who's a time bank member. The guy broke his leg, and the wife and the guy are kind of struggling at the moment to make everything happen. So here I am. I'm a member of their time bank. I show up with food. I show up to support, right? Yeah. Occasionally, every once in a while, we get into this new system, right, of support and love for each other. But most of the time, we have to deal with, okay, where's the money coming from? And so we have to really acknowledge that. So, but I love the let's play a new game now. I think that's perfect. I think we're going to really attract the people we want to attract by saying things like, okay, this is how it is, and let's also create something new in the process. Let's play a new game together. How about this? How about this game? Try this game on for size. Put this hat on. See how it feels. So, anything you want to say to that? I don't want to monopolize the conversation.
Oh, no. A lot of things came up. A lot of things came up, and it's the kind of thing where I'm letting go and simplifying as we go through the conversation. But something that came up about acceptance. I do a lot of personal work with power versus force, the map of consciousness, where this system, when it forces you into hierarchical positions or it puts you in a subordinate position, we're chasing around feelings of guilt, shame, anger, fear, sadness, all of these things. If we're really working hard, maybe we'll work up into anger and pride and maybe a little bit of courage. But acceptance, forgiveness, on that map of consciousness where there's like 17 different emotions, 17 different emotional frequencies. Right. Acceptance is, one step below clarity, which is one step below love. So just being able to accept it, to be able to be honest with yourself about the system and do the deep dives, do the deep research about how the foundations of that system run, is very powerful. It's very powerful.
Yes, it is. And when we start to move up that ladder, we are vibrating at a higher frequency. Resonating with each other. And from an energetic perspective, those of you who are, I'm a Reiki master. I've done a lot of energy work in my lifetime. so just to give a little analogy of that for those who are watching that might not understand it as well, it's kind of like being in a building and you're on the first floor, right? And the first floor is okay, right? We're kind of resonating. We're all kind of a little angry at times, a little upset at times, but we're dealing, we're getting through life. And then you've got, kind of this third floor level of people who can kind of look out the window and see a little above the trees. They can see kind of the street below and above the trees and see what's going on. And they can navigate a little bit more effectively. They're coming from a place of removal from that first floor. So they're really coming outside of that and being able to see it from a perspective of, like you said, acceptance, forgiveness. Okay, this is how it is, right? And then when you go to like the 10th floor and you're like really up there and you can kind of see the whole picture, it's almost like you're getting to be amongst the angels. If you believe in angels, you're getting to be amongst that, looking down on the earth below and going, and just having love for the whole process, having love for the people who are, just struggling, like the person I was helping with their finances, just having love for that person and really just seeing something, helping them to see something they didn't see and saying, come up to the 8th floor and take a look around here and see if you like this view. And the more we do that in the process of what we're setting up here as a new system, I think the more we'll resonate at that higher level and be in a community, that really cares and that really wants to make a difference.